In the heart of London, social media influencer Tyler Brooks targets a Queen's Guard, believing the ceremonial soldier to be an easy mark for his viral video. Unbeknownst to Tyler, Lance Corporal Mitchell is a battle-tested veteran with combat experience that goes far beyond his seemingly rigid ceremonial stance. As Tyler prepares to create what he thinks will be his most shocking content yet, he is about to learn a brutal lesson about military discipline, respect, and the true meaning of tradition. Before we jump back into the video, let us know where you're watching from and if you're enjoying this story. And don't forget to subscribe because I have something special for you tomorrow. Now back to the video. The August sun beat down on Buckingham Palace as Lance Corporal David Mitchell maintained his post with characteristic precision. At 31, with 3 tours in Afghanistan behind him, Mitchell had perfected the art of stillness that the Queen's Guard demanded. His bearskin cap, the iconic symbol of his unit, cast a long shadow in the morning light. Tyler Brooks, a 24-year-old social media influencer from Los Angeles, adjusted his camera settings while reviewing his planned stunt. With 5 million followers across platforms, he'd built his brand on increasingly outrageous challenges at famous locations. "What's up, squad?" he addressed his livestream audience. "Today we're making history, the ultimate London challenge. Nobody's ever successfully gotten one of these famous hats, but your boy Tyler's about to change that." Among the gathering tourists stood retired Major James Blackwood, who recognized the warning signs immediately. 28 years in the household division had taught him to spot potential threats to the guard posts. "The boy has no idea what he's dealing with," Blackwood muttered to his grandson. "That's not a costume he's targeting. It's a piece of military equipment worn by a combat veteran." Tyler positioned his friends with additional cameras, ensuring multiple angles would capture his planned feat. His followers flooded the chat with encouragement and super chat donations, each one spurring him toward what he imagined would be viral glory. $5,000 says I can snatch it and get a selfie before he moves, Tyler announced to his stream. "These guards are just for show anyway. Time to expose this tourist trap." Mitchell tracked the activity through his peripheral vision, his combat experience recognizing coordinated movement patterns. In Afghanistan, such deliberate positioning usually preceded an attack. Here, it likely meant another social media stunt. But his training remained active. What happened next would indeed go viral, though not in the way Tyler intended. His attempt to humiliate a ceremonial guard was about to collide with the reality of why these traditions had endured for centuries. The morning sun climbed higher as Tyler prepared his elaborate setup. His followers watched eagerly, anticipating entertainment. Instead, they would witness a lesson about respect that no amount of likes or shares could measure. Tyler Brooks' carefully choreographed challenge unfolded before hundreds of watching tourists. His team had positioned 5 cameras to capture every angle, while his live stream numbers climbed past 50,000 viewers. The morning crowd at Buckingham Palace grew as people noticed the building spectacle. "Okay, squad, let me break down the plan," Tyler narrated, his confidence bolstered by a stream of super chat donations. "These bearskin hats weigh like 5 pounds, and they're not even strapped on. The guards can't move unless someone crosses the line or poses a threat. It's literally just reach, grab, and instant viral fame." His previous stunts at famous locations had earned him millions of views and lucrative sponsorship deals, but this would be different. Tyler had spent weeks studying other guard videos, identifying what he considered exploitable patterns in their ceremonial protocols. "Phase 1, he whispered to his camera, deploying his team in a semicircle around Lance Corporal Mitchell's post. Each member carried professional camera equipment, positioning themselves for what they assumed would be a historic moment of social media triumph. Major Blackwood watched with growing concern. His years in the household division had taught him to recognize coordinated actions. "They're setting up a tactical distraction pattern," he observed to a nearby police officer. "Military formation, though they probably don't realize it." Mitchell maintained his ceremonial stance, but his combat-trained senses catalogued every movement. The influencer's team deployment matched insurgent tactics he'd encountered in Helmand province, surrounding a target with multiple points of distraction before the main attack. "Let the show begin," Tyler announced, his live stream now reaching 70,000 viewers. "Remember to smash that like button and hit subscribe, because you're about to witness TikTok history." Detective Inspector Sarah Collins, who monitored potential threats to ceremonial sites, observed from nearby. Her specialized unit had been tracking Tyler's group after his social media posts hinted at planned provocations. "Notice how they're trying to manipulate his required responses," she noted to her team. "They've studied the guard protocols, but they don't understand the man behind them." Tyler's confidence grew as he began his approach. His livestream numbers topped 100,000, with viewers placing bets on whether he'd succeed. Brand sponsors began reaching out, sensing a viral moment in the making. "Time for the grand finale," he declared, pulling out a selfie stick with multiple cameras attached. "Let's see how these elite guards handle a little social media disruption." What Tyler didn't know was that Mitchell had extensive close-quarters combat training from his tours in Afghanistan. The ceremonial uniform concealed a warrior whose stillness came from discipline rather than limitation. The morning sun stood high over Buckingham Palace as Tyler initiated his plan. His followers watched with anticipation, expecting another social media triumph. Instead, they were about to witness why ceremonial guards earned their positions through more than just parade ground practice. "Get ready for the most epic guard reaction ever," Tyler promised his viewers, moving into position. His previous stunts had always succeeded through sheer audacity and persistence, but he had never encountered someone like Lance Corporal Mitchell. Blackwood recognized the shift in Mitchell's stance. Microscopic adjustments that tourists wouldn't notice, but that any combat veteran would understand as pre-engagement positioning. "The boy has no idea what he's actually dealing with," he commented quietly. Tyler began his final approach, narrating to his phone with growing excitement. His followers urged him on with donations and encouraging comments. The spectacle had drawn an even larger crowd, their phones raised to capture what everyone expected would be just another viral guard harassment video. None of them, except perhaps Blackwood, recognized that Mitchell's ceremonial stillness concealed combat-honed readiness. His perfect bearing wasn't rigid programming, but disciplined control, ready to respond while maintaining the dignity of his post. What happened next would indeed go viral, though not on Tyler's channel. His attempt to create content was about to become a very different kind of educational video, one that would teach millions of viewers why the bearskin cap and the men who wore it commanded respect rather than mockery. The morning light glinted off the palace windows as Tyler moved into striking distance. His live stream peaked at nearly 200,000 viewers, all expecting entertainment. Instead, they were about to learn why the Queen's Guard ceremonies had survived centuries, not through rigid tradition, but through the perfect integration of dignity and capability. What transpired in the next 30 seconds would be analyzed by military training units worldwide. As Tyler's hand reached for the bearskin cap, Lance Corporal Mitchell executed a sequence of movements that maintained perfect ceremonial form while neutralizing multiple threats. His rifle, which tourists assumed was ceremonial, moved with practiced precision. The barrel established a defensive barrier while simultaneously creating distance. Tyler's grasping fingers found empty air as he suddenly discovered himself expertly redirected, his momentum carrying him away from the guard post with mathematical precision. "Make way for the Queen's Guard," Mitchell's parade ground voice carried across the plaza. The traditional warning held new weight as his combat training became evident. Each step of his ceremonial advance served a tactical purpose, systematically, controlling the space Tyler's team had tried to dominate. Detective Inspector Collins moved in with her specialized unit. "Mr. Brooks, you're under arrest for attempted assault on a serving member of Her Majesty's Armed Forces, unauthorized filming for commercial purposes on protected grounds, and coordinated harassment of military personnel. Your equipment is being confiscated as evidence." Tyler's live stream captured everything. Not the guard humiliation he'd planned, but his own team's swift neutralization by a soldier who never broke ceremonial bearing. His followers watched in stunned silence as their content creator faced serious consequences. "The bearskin cap alone is a protected military symbol," Collins informed him. "Attempting to interfere with it carries severe penalties. Add conspiracy to harass military personnel and unauthorized commercial filming, and you're facing significant charges." Major Blackwood provided his military expertise to the responding officers. "Perfect integration of ceremony and tactical response," he noted, reviewing the footage. "This is why these traditions endure. They adapt while maintaining their essence." Tyler's social media empire began crumbling in real time. Brand sponsors pulled their support as the video spread, showing not a successful prank but a harsh lesson in respecting military tradition. "Your influence status doesn't grant immunity," Collins explained during the initial interview. "In fact, documenting your planned harassment for profit aggravates the charges. Your live stream provided excellent evidence of premeditation. The investigation revealed the extent of Tyler's planning. His team had studied guard patrol patterns, mapped camera angles, and coordinated their positions for maximum disruption. What they dismissed as ceremonial routine was actually sophisticated military protocol." "Let me explain something about that bearskin cap," Blackwood addressed Tyler in the interview room. "It's not a costume prop. It's a battle honor dating back to Waterloo, earned in combat and maintained with pride. Every guard who wears it continues that tradition of service." International media began picking up the story. Tyler's attempted stunt had exposed a broader issue of social media personalities targeting ceremonial guards for content. His swift neutralization would serve as a deterrent to others planning similar provocations. Mitchell resumed his post with characteristic precision, his uniform and bearing immaculate. To tourists arriving later, he appeared exactly as a Queen's Guard should, a perfect example of ceremonial discipline. But now millions had seen what that discipline truly meant. "These aren't costumes," Collins told assembled media. "These are active duty soldiers maintaining ceremonial duties." Mr. Brooks learned the hard way that their capabilities extend far beyond standing still. The technical analysis of Mitchell's response amazed military experts. He had maintained perfect ceremonial bearing while executing textbook close protection maneuvers. Each movement served both traditional protocol and tactical purpose. Tyler's followers began unfollowing in droves. Comments on his previous videos shifted from encouragement to criticism as people recognized the pattern of disrespect he'd promoted. His business model of monetizing provocations collapsed in the face of real consequences. Detective Inspector Collins' office at New Scotland Yard resembled a social media command center. Multiple screens displayed Tyler Brooks's extensive digital history, hundreds of videos targeting authority figures, each more provocative than the last. "Look at this progression," she showed her cybercrime team. He started with mall security guards, moved to police officers, then military ceremonies. Each success encouraged more aggressive behavior. The screen showed clips of Tyler's previous challenges, revealing a pattern of escalating disrespect. Dr. Emma Richardson, the unit's behavioral analyst, reviewed Tyler's content strategy. "He built a business model around provoking authority figures," she explained. Each video generated more revenue, creating financial incentive for increasingly dangerous stunts. Major Blackwood examined the technical aspects of Tyler's planned attack on Mitchell's post. They inadvertently used military-style coordination, he noted, reviewing the team's positioning. The camera placements, the approach angles, textbook distraction tactics, though they didn't understand the significance. The investigation uncovered a network of social media influencers planning similar stunts at ceremonial sites worldwide. Tyler's group chat revealed discussions about targeting changing of the guard ceremonies at Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, and other royal residences. Look at their planning documents. Collins highlighted messages between Tyler and his team. They studied guard patrol patterns, rotation schedules, even the ceremonial drill manual. They treated it like a military operation, not realizing they were targeting actual military personnel. The evidence room filled with confiscated equipment, professional cameras, communication devices, even detailed maps of guard posts marked with planned extraction routes for stolen bearskin caps. They created tactical plans without understanding tactical reality, Blackwood observed. These diagrams show they expected ceremonial limitation rather than combat capability. Mitchell's incident report proved crucial. His military precision in documenting the encounter provided evidence of both the attack's sophistication and its foolishness. The attempted cap theft, supposedly just for content, could have resulted in serious injury. Your social media status doesn't grant immunity, Collins informed Tyler during another interview. In fact, documenting your harassment for profit aggravates the charges. Each super chat donation during your live stream proves commercial intent. The investigation expanded as they discovered similar incidents at ceremonial sites globally. Tyler's challenge format had inspired copycat attempts, creating a dangerous trend of provoking ceremonial guards for content. We're seeing coordinated attacks on military traditions, Collins briefed senior officers. Social media platforms incentivize this behavior through monetization and algorithmic promotion. Mitchell's response exposed both the danger and the unseen foolishness of these stunts. Cybercrime specialists traced the financial networks behind Tyler's operation. His seemingly spontaneous pranks were actually carefully orchestrated productions funded by sponsor deals and viewer donations. Each video targeting authority figures earned progressively more, Dr. Richardson explained, displaying revenue charts. The algorithms rewarded escalating provocation. A successful cap theft would have generated millions in viral revenue. The technical analysis of Mitchell's response became a training resource. His perfect integration of ceremonial bearing and combat capability demonstrated why guard protocols had evolved as they had. Watch his movement sequence, Blackwood demonstrated to police trainers. Every action maintains ceremony while establishing tactical control. This is centuries of military tradition adapted to modern threats. Social media platforms faced pressure to address guard harassment content. Tyler's live-streamed humiliation had exposed their role in promoting dangerous behavior through engagement metrics and monetization features. These platforms profit from provocation, Collins testified to a parliamentary committee. They encourage escalating disrespect through their reward systems. Mitchell's response showed why this model is both dangerous and unsustainable. The investigation revealed how thoroughly Tyler had studied guard protocols, yet how completely he'd misunderstood their purpose. His team had mapped ceremonial movements without recognizing their tactical foundations. They saw ceremony as limitation, Blackwood explained. They never understood these traditions survived because they combined dignity with capability. Mitchell showed them why. As evening approached, Collins reviewed the growing case file. What had begun as a social media stunt had exposed a broader attack on military traditions. The question remained: how to protect ceremonial dignity in an age that monetized disrespect. Mitchell maintained his post with characteristic precision, unaware that his response had sparked an international investigation. His perfect balance of ceremony and capability had demonstrated why some traditions survived centuries. They adapted while maintaining their essential character. The cybercrime unit at New Scotland Yard had transformed into a global command center as the investigation's digital scope expanded. 3 weeks after Tyler's attempted theft, Detective Inspector Collins faced a wall of screens displaying the worldwide impact of Mitchell's response. The incident sparked something unprecedented, she explained to assembled law enforcement representatives. Social media platforms are experiencing what they call a respect renaissance. Users actively rejecting content that mocks ceremonial traditions. Dr. Emma Richardson's behavioral analysis team tracked the shifting online sentiment. Their data showed a dramatic transformation in how social media users viewed ceremonial guards. "Look at these engagement metrics," she demonstrated. Before Mitchell's response, guard harassment videos generated massive positive engagement. Now, similar content faces immediate community backlash. The algorithms are adapting to this new reality. Tyler Brooks, facing serious charges, watched his digital empire crumble from his cell. His followers, once eager for increasingly aggressive stunts, now dissected his previous videos with critical eyes. Each clip revealed a pattern of calculated disrespect that had suddenly lost its entertainment value. "I built my brand on pushing boundaries," Tyler admitted during another interview. "I never stopped to consider why those boundaries existed." Mitchell showed everyone what really lies beneath ceremonial discipline. Major Blackwood worked with social media platforms to develop new guidelines for ceremonial site content. His military expertise helped create policies that balanced public interest with respect for tradition. "These ceremonies aren't just for show," he explained to platform executives. "They represent living military traditions. Your users need to understand they're interacting with active duty personnel, not tourist attractions." The investigation uncovered a sophisticated network of influencers who had planned coordinated challenges at ceremonial sites worldwide. Their private messages revealed a cynical strategy to monetize disrespect. They treated military tradition as a commodity, Collins noted, reviewing seized communications. Each disruption was calculated for maximum viral potential. Mitchell's response crashed their entire business model. Tech companies faced mounting pressure to address their role in encouraging provocative behavior. Algorithms that had once promoted guard harassment content now required significant redesign. The platforms inadvertently created a market for disrespect, Dr. Richardson explained to regulatory committees. Success metrics rewarded increasingly aggressive behavior. Mitchell demonstrated why this approach was fundamentally flawed. Lance Corporal Mitchell's response footage became a case study in digital ethics courses. Social media experts analyzed how a single incident could reshape online behavior patterns. Traditional authority wasn't weakened by social media, a platform's ethics director acknowledged. It simply needed to demonstrate its underlying strength. Mitchell did that without saying a word. International law enforcement coordinated to address the global impact. Similar incidents at ceremonial sites worldwide had created a complex web of digital evidence. These influencers built multinational networks. Collins briefed Interpol representatives. They shared tactics, coordinated stunts, and monetized the results. Now those same networks are spreading a very different message about respecting tradition. The investigation's technical team discovered sophisticated planning behind seemingly spontaneous pranks. Tyler's attempted cap theft had involved advanced surveillance, coordinated camera positions, and carefully timed provocations. They approached it like a military operation, Blackwood observed. The irony is they never understood they were actually targeting military personnel. Their planning made the offense more serious. Social media platforms began implementing ceremonial site protocols, special content rules for posts involving military traditions. Users had to acknowledge these guidelines before posting related content. "We're not restricting documentation," a platform spokesperson explained. "We're promoting understanding. These ceremonies deserve more than drive-by content creation." The digital landscape transformed as users internalized the lesson of Mitchell's response. Guard harassment videos, once reliable viral content, now attracted criticism and demonetization. "The algorithms are learning," Dr. Richardson noted. "Content that respects ceremonial tradition generates more positive engagement than attempts at disruption. The market for disrespect has collapsed." Mitchell's perfect balance of ceremony and capability had inadvertently revolutionized how social media treated military traditions. His response demonstrated that some institutions remained strong enough to command respect even in the digital age. As evening fell over London, the online world continued processing the implications. Mitchell had shown that ceremonial bearing wasn't weakness to be exploited, but strength to be respected. The bearskin cap he'd protected represented more than a viral opportunity. It symbolized traditions that had earned their endurance. The investigation expanded into the broader digital ecosystem that had encouraged such behavior. But Mitchell's response had already sparked a fundamental change in how online culture approached ceremonial traditions, proving that some institutions remained impervious to social media's tendency toward disrespect. The digital fallout continued reshaping online behavior as users recognized that some traditions commanded respect not through viral potential, but through the quiet strength Mitchell had demonstrated. His response had taught a lesson that no amount of likes or shares could measure. The British Military Museum's Grand Lecture Hall was filled to capacity as the Household Division launched its new public education initiative. 1 month after Mitchell's response, the incident had catalyzed a complete overhaul of how ceremonial traditions were explained to the public. Today, we begin bridging the gap between ceremony and understanding. Major Harrison addressed the assembled educators, social media influencers, and military historians. Lance Corporal Mitchell's response revealed how deeply the public had misunderstood our ceremonial guards. "We're here to correct that." Dr. Emma Richardson presented her comprehensive analysis of public perceptions. Multiple screens displayed data showing how social media had warped understanding of military traditions. "Look at this trend," she highlighted engagement patterns. Prior to the incident, most young people viewed ceremonial guards as tourist attractions. Mitchell's response sparked a dramatic shift toward recognizing them as active duty personnel, maintaining traditional roles. Tyler Brooks, participating via video link as part of his rehabilitation, addressed influencer education programs. His perspective had shifted dramatically since his arrest. "I built a career mocking what I didn't understand," he admitted to aspiring content creators. "The bearskin cap I tried to steal, it's not a prop. It's a battle honor earned at Waterloo, maintained through generations of service. Each guard who wears it carries that legacy." Major Blackwood led practical demonstrations showing how ceremonial movements incorporated tactical capability. His team performed traditional drill sequences while explaining their practical foundations. "These formations weren't designed for tourism," he explained. "They're refined military tactics preserved through ceremony." When Mitchell responded to the threat, he demonstrated their enduring practical value. The museum created an interactive exhibition exploring the history of the Queen's Guard's ceremonial uniform. Each element, from the bearskin cap to the dress tunic, was presented with its military significance and historical context. "The public often sees pageantry," Harrison noted, guiding visitors through the display. "We need them to understand these traditions survived because they serve real purposes. Mitchell showed everyone why we maintain them." Detective Inspector Collins worked with educational institutions to develop social media literacy programs. Her team created curriculum materials explaining the legal and ethical implications of harassing ceremonial guards. These aren't just ceremonial posts. she explained to teachers. They're active military positions protected by law. Students need to understand that social media fame doesn't grant immunity from consequences. The Household Division established a new public engagement unit. Retired guards, including veterans of modern conflicts, shared their experiences of balancing ceremonial duty with combat readiness. Every guard standing post, a former sergeant explained, has trained extensively in both ceremony and combat. Mitchell's response wasn't exceptional. It was exactly what we prepare for. International military units sent observers to study the educational initiative. The French Republican Guard, the US Old Guard, and other ceremonial units faced similar challenges with public perception. This isn't just a British issue, Harrison told military attachés. Ceremonial units worldwide need to help people understand why we maintain these traditions. Mitchell gave us the perfect teaching opportunity. The technical aspects of ceremonial guard training became part of public education. Video analysis showed how traditional drill movements incorporated modern defensive capability. Watch how the ceremonial stance enables rapid response, Blackwood demonstrated. Every position, every movement serves both traditional and practical purposes. This is why these protocols survived centuries. Social media platforms collaborated on educational content guidelines. Their algorithms were adjusted to promote understanding rather than provocation of ceremonial traditions. We're redefining what constitutes engaging content, a platform executive explained. Respectful exploration of military traditions now generates better engagement than attempted disruption. Mitchell's response footage became a cornerstone of military heritage education. Schools incorporated it into history curricula, using it to demonstrate how traditional institutions adapted to modern challenges. This incident perfectly illustrates why ceremonial units endure, a history professor explained. They maintain tradition not through rigid preservation, but through practical evolution. The museum's educational programs expanded to include live demonstrations. Serving guards performed ceremonial drill, while experts explained the tactical principles preserved through tradition. Every movement you see, Harrison told student groups, combines historical dignity with practical purpose. These ceremonies survived because they keep essential skills alive. Local tourism boards updated their materials, providing deeper context for ceremonial sites. Guides were trained to explain both the pageantry and the practical significance of guard duties. Tourists still want their photos, a guide coordinator noted, but now they understand they're photographing active duty personnel maintaining military traditions, not performing for entertainment. As evening approached, the museum hosted a special ceremony. Guard units demonstrated traditional drill movements while experts explained their tactical origins. The public watched with new appreciation, understanding finally that ceremony preserved capability. The educational initiative continued expanding, reaching international audiences through digital platforms. Mitchell's response had created an opportunity to explain why ceremonial traditions deserved respect rather than mockery. As darkness fell over London, the guards maintained their eternal vigil. But now, visitors approached with enhanced understanding, recognizing that beneath the ceremonial exterior stood warriors who maintained tradition precisely because they were capable of more. Arlington National Cemetery's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier became the first international site to implement what had become known as the Mitchell Protocol. The Old Guard, America's oldest active-duty infantry unit, studied Mitchell's response in meticulous detail, recognizing parallels to their own ceremonial duties. What Lance Corporal Mitchell demonstrated, Sergeant Major James Carter addressed his unit, wasn't just a response to a social media stunt. He showed why ceremonial units maintain combat readiness while preserving tradition. His example applies to every guard post worldwide. In Paris, the French Republican Guard underwent similar transformation. Colonel Jean-Pierre Dubois had traveled to London specifically to understand how Mitchell had maintained ceremonial bearing while executing tactical response. "For centuries, we've balanced ceremony with security," Dubois explained to his officers. Mitchell's response gave us a new framework for that integration. His techniques are now part of our standard training. The Vatican's Swiss Guard, perhaps the world's most photographed ceremonial unit, adapted the protocols to their unique situation. Captain Marco Rossi incorporated lessons from both Mitchell's response and the subsequent investigation. "Our ceremonial appearance often makes tourists forget we're an active security force," Rossi noted during international guard coordination meetings. Mitchell reminded everyone that tradition and capability aren't separate elements. Detective Inspector Collins coordinated with global law enforcement as similar incidents emerged. Social media companies, chastened by Tyler's case, implemented strict policies about ceremonial site content. "We've identified copycat attempts worldwide," Collins briefed international security teams. But Mitchell's response created an effective deterrent. Potential disruptors now understand these ceremonies have teeth behind their tradition. Major Blackwood traveled extensively, teaching military units how to incorporate the Mitchell Protocol into their ceremonial training. His expertise helped bridge the gap between traditional ceremony and modern security needs. "What social media influencers never grasped," he explained at Japan's Imperial Palace Guard, "was that ceremony isn't rigid programming. These traditions survived because they could adapt while maintaining their essential character." The investigation expanded to protect other ceremonial institutions. Museums, historic sites, and cultural ceremonies received enhanced security protocols based on Mitchell's example. International cooperation increased as memorial sites worldwide shared intelligence about potential provocations. A unified database tracked known disruptors and their techniques, allowing ceremonial units to prepare specific countermeasures. The Australian War Memorial's ceremonial unit adapted the protocols next. Major Sarah Anderson led the implementation, incorporating lessons from both Mitchell's response and Tyler's failed attack. "Their algorithm actually helped us," Anderson explained to her troops. "By trying to exploit ceremonial patterns, they documented exactly how our traditions adapt." Mitchell showed them the flaw in their assumptions. India's president's bodyguard, combining centuries-old cavalry traditions with modern protection duties, found particular value in Mitchell's example. Their mounted ceremonial unit incorporated his techniques into their ancient protocols. These ceremonies survived countless changes, Colonel Raj Singh noted during training. Mitchell showed us they survive precisely because they can adapt while maintaining dignity. The U.S. Marine Corps Silent Drill Platoon integrated Mitchell's principles into their public performances. Their precise ceremonial drill now incorporated subtle tactical elements, proving tradition could enhance rather than restrict capability. UNESCO added ceremonial guard traditions to its protected heritage list, recognizing these ceremonies needed both preservation and protection. The international organization acknowledged how Mitchell's response had demonstrated their continued relevance. "These traditions represent living heritage," the declaration stated. "They adapt and evolve while maintaining their essential character. Recent events have demonstrated their continued importance in the modern world." The changing of the guard ceremony at Buckingham Palace attracted record crowds, but with a different atmosphere. Tourists now watched with informed appreciation, understanding they witnessed not just pageantry, but preserved military capability. Mitchell's response footage became required study at military academies worldwide. Future officers learned how ceremonial dignity could incorporate tactical readiness without compromise. As evening fell across different time zones, ceremonial guards worldwide maintained their posts with renewed purpose. Each unit had adapted Mitchell's techniques to their own traditions, strengthening rather than changing their ceremonial character. The Night Watch took their positions in capitals around the globe, now carrying forward not just ceremony but conscious capability. They understood that their traditions had survived precisely because they combined dignity with strength. The International Guard community had found new unity of purpose through Mitchell's example. Though their ceremonies differed, they shared the common mission of preserving traditions that had proven strong enough to adapt without breaking. The sprawling grounds of the Defense Military Training Center transformed into an international hub of ceremonial innovation. 3 months after Mitchell's response, Guard units from 30 nations gathered to formalize new protocols that balanced traditional ceremony with modern security. What we're implementing today, Major Harrison addressed the assembled Guards, represents the most significant evolution in ceremonial training since Victorian times. Mitchell showed us that tradition and capability aren't opposing forces, they're complementary aspects of the same duty. Dr. Emma Richardson led behavioral analysis of Guard responses. Her team had spent months studying how ceremonial bearing could enhance rather than restrict tactical capability. Traditional thinking separated ceremony from security, she explained, demonstrating with a trainee Guard. We now understand these skills develop together. The discipline required for perfect ceremonial bearing naturally improves tactical response. Major Blackwood worked with international instructors, teaching the subtle integration of traditional drill with tactical movement. Each ceremonial position was analyzed for its defensive potential. Watch how the Guard stance enables rapid response, he demonstrated to visiting units. The ceremonial position that tourists photograph actually creates optimal defensive readiness. This is why these traditions survived centuries. Tyler Brooks, participating remotely in rehabilitation, addressed new Guard recruits about the dangers of underestimating ceremonial units. I thought I was targeting a costume, he admitted. Instead, I encountered centuries of refined military capability. That bearskin cap represents more than ceremony. It represents continuous adaptation of traditional skills. The old Guard from Arlington sent their top instructors to study the new protocols. Sergeant James Carter recognized how Mitchell's response applied to their own ceremonial duties. Every Guard post worldwide faces similar challenges, he noted. Mitchell showed us how to maintain dignity while ready for anything. His response became our new standard. The technical training incorporated virtual reality simulations. Guards practiced maintaining ceremonial bearing while responding to various threats, from social media stunts to serious security issues. The VR system helps Guards develop integrated responses, Dr. Richardson explained. They learn to handle modern threats while never breaking ceremonial form. Detective Inspector Collins worked with military police to establish new security protocols. Her team coordinated responses that preserved ceremonial dignity while ensuring protection. These aren't separate duties anymore, she told security trainers. Mitchell proved that ceremony and security naturally reinforce each other. The French Republican Guard demonstrated how classical military drill incorporated tactical movement. Their centuries-old ceremonies contained built-in defensive capabilities that modern training had overlooked. These formations survived because they served real purposes, Colonel Dubois explained. Mitchell reminded us why we maintain these traditions. International cooperation led to new understanding of ceremonial roles. Units from different traditions found common ground in balancing ceremony with security. Each unit maintains its unique heritage, Harrison noted, but the underlying principle remains: tradition and capability strengthen each other. The training grounds filled with diverse uniforms as Guards practiced integrated responses. From American Old Guard to Indian President's Bodyguard, each unit adapted Mitchell's techniques to their traditions. We're not changing ceremony, Blackwood emphasized. We're remembering why these movements were created Every traditional drill contains tactical purpose. Virtual reality scenarios recreated Mitchell's response from multiple angles. Guards analyzed his perfect maintenance of ceremony while executing defensive maneuvers. Notice how he never breaks form, Carter highlighted. The ceremonial bearing enhances rather than restricts his tactical movement. This is the standard we now teach. The investigation's findings reshaped guard training worldwide. Units discovered how their unique traditions naturally incorporated security elements when properly understood. As evening approached, the assembled guards performed a multinational ceremony. Each unit maintained their distinct traditions while demonstrating integrated defensive capability. "This is the future of ceremonial units," Harrison declared. "Not rigid preservation, but conscious evolution. We maintain tradition, precisely because it keeps vital skills alive." Mitchell's legacy spread through generation after generation of guards. His response had shown why ceremonial units endured. Not through unchanging ritual, but through the perfect integration of traditional dignity and modern capability. The Night Watch took their posts across different time zones, each position representing living tradition. They carried forward not just ceremony but conscious capability, understanding that their traditions had survived precisely because they combined dignity with strength. Every guard post worldwide now stood as testament to traditions strong enough to evolve without breaking. Mitchell had shown that ceremony endured not through rigid preservation, but through constant adaptation of ancient skills to meet new challenges. 6 months after Mitchell's response transformed ceremonial protection worldwide, the British Museum hosted an unprecedented exhibition. Guardians of Tradition, Ceremonial Units in the Modern Age. The Central Gallery featured a life-sized holographic recreation of the incident that had changed public perception of ceremonial guards forever. "What we're witnessing," Dr. Emma Richardson addressed the opening ceremony, "isn't just a change in security protocols. It's a fundamental shift in how society views traditional institutions." Mitchell's response sparked a renaissance in understanding ceremonial roles. The exhibition drew unprecedented crowds, including many young people who had once viewed ceremonial guards as mere tourist attractions. Interactive displays showed the evolution of ceremonial units, from their battlefield origins to their modern integration of tradition and capability. Major Harrison led daily demonstrations in the museum's courtyard, where guards performed traditional ceremonies while explaining their tactical foundations. "Every movement you see," he explained to captivated audiences, "combines historical dignity with practical purpose. These traditions survived because they preserve essential skills." Tyler Brooks, now a prominent advocate for respectful engagement with ceremonial institutions, contributed virtual presentations about the dangers of social media fame-seeking. His transformation from provocateur to educator symbolized the broader cultural shift. "I built my following by mocking what I didn't understand," he told influencer groups. "That bearskin cap I tried to steal, it represents centuries of military evolution." Mitchell showed me why these traditions command respect. Detective Inspector Collins worked with social media companies to develop new content guidelines. Her team's research had revealed how digital culture had inadvertently encouraged disrespect for ceremonial traditions. The algorithms once rewarded provocation, she explained to platform executives. Now they promote understanding. Mitchell's response changed what audiences consider engaging content. The museum's technical displays revealed the sophisticated integration of ceremony and capability. Virtual reality simulations allowed visitors to experience guard training, demonstrating how traditional drill incorporated defensive readiness. Notice how ceremonial bearing enhances tactical movement, Major Blackwood demonstrated to visiting groups. The precision these guards maintain isn't just for show, It's the foundation of their effectiveness. International media documented the cultural transformation. News outlets that had once treated guard harassment as entertainment now produced in-depth features about ceremonial traditions and their modern relevance. Schools developed new curricula exploring military heritage. Students learned how ceremonial units maintained traditions while adapting to contemporary challenges. Mitchell's response became a case study in institutional evolution. These ceremonies aren't relics, a history professor explained to her class. They're living traditions that adapt while maintaining their essential character. Mitchell demonstrated why they deserve preservation. Tourist behavior at ceremonial sites transformed dramatically. Visitors showed newfound respect, understanding that beneath the pageantry stood highly trained personnel maintaining centuries of military tradition. The Vatican's Swiss Guard reported similar changes in public interaction. People once saw costumes, Captain Rossi noted. Now they recognize uniforms worn by active duty personnel. The cultural shift is global. Social media influencers developed new content formats, celebrating rather than mocking ceremonial traditions. Platforms promoted educational content about military heritage, creating a market for respectful engagement. My followers want to understand these traditions now, a prominent creator explained. Mitchell showed everyone that ceremony conceals capability. That makes for more compelling content than cheap pranks. The exhibition included testimonies from ceremonial guards worldwide. Each shared how public perception had shifted, allowing them to maintain their duties with renewed dignity. We no longer face constant provocations, an old guard member reported. People approach with genuine interest in our role. They want to understand rather than disrupt. As evening approached, the museum hosted a special ceremony. Guards from multiple nations demonstrated their traditional drills, each movement now appreciated for both its historical significance and practical purpose. Mitchell's response had sparked more than procedural changes. It had transformed how society viewed ceremonial traditions. The public understood finally that these institutions survived not through rigid preservation, but through constant evolution. The cultural shift spread beyond military ceremonies to affect how people approached all traditional institutions. Mitchell had demonstrated that some traditions endured because they maintained relevance while preserving dignity. As darkness fell over London, the guards maintained their eternal vigil. But now they served in a world that understood their dual role, preserving tradition while ready to meet any challenge. The bearskin cap that Tyler had tried to steal stood as a symbol not of outdated ceremony, but of living tradition adapting to modern needs. 1 year after Tyler Brooks's attempted theft transformed ceremonial protection worldwide, Buckingham Palace hosted an unprecedented International Guard Summit. Representatives from 50 nations' ceremonial units gathered to formalize what had become known as the Mitchell Doctrine into official military protocol. Lance Corporal Mitchell, now promoted to sergeant, stood at attention as ceremonial guards from across the globe assembled in perfect formation. The morning sun glinted off an array of historic uniforms, from the Vatican Swiss Guard's Renaissance-inspired attire to the Indian President's bodyguards' regal mounted uniforms. What began with one guard's response to social media provocation, Major Harrison addressed the gathering, has evolved into a global renaissance of ceremonial tradition. Today, we recognize not just the preservation of ceremony, but its conscious evolution into the modern age. In the audience sat Tyler Brooks, now completing his rehabilitation program alongside Dr. Emma Richardson. Their presence symbolized the transformation from digital disruption to understanding. Tyler, who had once mocked ceremonial traditions for views, now helped others understand their enduring significance. I thought these ceremonies were outdated shows, Tyler shared during his invited speech. Sergeant Mitchell showed me their living traditions that adapt while maintaining their essence. My attempt to steal that bearskin cap revealed strength I hadn't understood. Dr. Richardson presented the culmination of a year's research into ceremonial evolution. Her team had documented how traditional units worldwide had integrated Mitchell's lessons while preserving their unique heritage. "We're seeing unprecedented levels of public engagement," she explained. "People no longer view these ceremonies as tourist attractions. They understand they're witnessing living military traditions that combine historical dignity with modern capability." Detective Inspector Collins shared the global impact on ceremonial site security. The incident had sparked a revolution in how traditional units maintained their dual role of preserving ceremony while ensuring protection. What began as one guard's response has transformed ceremonial protection worldwide, she noted. "We've learned that tradition and security aren't opposing forces. They're complementary aspects of the same enduring capability." International units demonstrated their adapted protocols. The French Republican Guard performed classical drill that flowed seamlessly into tactical response. The Old Guard showed how tomb sentinel duty incorporated enhanced security. Each unit maintained their unique ceremonial character while executing synchronized defensive movements. "Notice how no tradition is compromised," Major Blackwood pointed out. "Each ceremony preserves its essential dignity while incorporating common protective elements. This is how traditions stay relevant through centuries of change." The summit established permanent international cooperation between ceremonial units. The Mitchell Doctrine would ensure traditional ceremonies remained both honored and protected, adapting to new challenges while maintaining their essential character. Social media platforms had transformed their approach to ceremonial content. What once encouraged disruption now promoted understanding. Tyler's own channels, once dedicated to provocation, educated millions about military traditions. "These guards maintain ceremony precisely because they can do more," he explained in viral videos. "I learned that lesson personally. Now I help others understand it without making my mistakes." The summit's evening ceremonies showcased the evolution in action. Each unit performed their traditional routines while subtly demonstrating their enhanced capabilities. Tourists watched with new appreciation, understanding finally that beneath the pageantry lay skills preserved through generations of service. UNESCO added ceremonial guard traditions to its protected heritage list. Recognizing these ceremonies needed both preservation and protection. The international organization acknowledged how Mitchell's response had demonstrated their continued relevance. "These traditions represent living heritage," the declaration stated. "They adapt and evolve while maintaining their essential character." Recent events have demonstrated their continued importance in the modern world. As darkness fell over London, the assembled guards performed a joint ceremony. Each unit maintained their unique traditional elements while executing synchronized defensive movements. The display proved that ceremonial dignity and modern capability could perfectly coexist. Tourist guides worldwide updated their materials, explaining ceremonial traditions with newfound depth. Visitors learned to appreciate both the historical pageantry and the modern purpose these guards represented. Mitchell completed his final inspection of the international guard posts. The proud traditions of multiple nations now stood united in common purpose, protecting ceremonies that had proven strong enough to defend themselves while maintaining their essential character. Tyler watched the changing of the guard with new understanding, his journey from provocateur to advocate, reflecting the broader transformation in how ceremonial traditions were perceived. What began as an attack had become a catalyst for deeper appreciation of why these ceremonies endured. The Night Watch took their positions as darkness settled over Buckingham Palace. The ceremonies that had survived centuries continued their evolution, stronger for having demonstrated why they deserved protection. Mitchell had shown that tradition's greatest strength lay not in rigid preservation, but in the ability to adapt while maintaining its timeless dignity. The stars emerged over London as the international mounted units stood their posts. Each position represented living heritage, maintained through generations because it preserved essential skills in a form that combined historical dignity with contemporary capability. A failed attempt to steal a bearskin cap had inadvertently sparked a renaissance in understanding why these traditions deserved not just respect, but active protection. And so the Night Watch continued as it had for centuries, but now with renewed purpose and deeper public appreciation. The guards carried forward not just ceremony, but conscious capability, understanding that their traditions had survived precisely because they combined dignity with strength, pageantry with purpose, and historical bearing with modern readiness. The end.